Iktomi's blanket. Alone within his teepee sat Iktomi. The sun was but a hand's breadth from the western edge of the land. Those bad, bad grey wolves, they ate up all my nice fat ducks, muttered he, rocking his body both to and fro. He was cuddling the evil memory he bore those hungry wolves, and at last he ceased to sway his body backward and forward, but sat still and stiff as a stone image. Oh, I'll go to Inyan, the great-grandfather, and pray for food, he exclaimed. At once he hurried forth from his teepee, and, with his blanket over one shoulder, drew nigh to a huge rock on a hillside. With half-crouching and half-running strides, he fell upon Inyan with outspread hands. Grandfather, pity me. I am hungry. I am starving. Give me food, great-grandfather. Give me meat to eat, he cried all the while he stroked and caressed the face of the great stone god. The all-powerful Great Spirit, who makes the trees and the grass, can hear the voices of those who pray in many varied ways. The hearing of Inyan, the large hard stone, was the one most sought after. He was the great-grandfather, for he had sat upon the hillside for many, many seasons. He had seen the prairie put on a snow-white blanket, and then change it for a bright green robe more than 1,000 times. Still unaffected by the myriad moans, he rested on the everlasting hill, listening to the prayers of all Indian warriors. Before the finding of the magic arrow, he had sat there. Now as Iktomi prayed and wept before the great-grandfather, the sky in the west was red like a glowing face. The sunset poured a soft mellow light upon the huge grey stone and the solitary figure beside it. It was the smile of the Great Spirit upon the grandfather and the wayward child. The prayer was heard. Iktomi knew it. Now, grandfather, accept my offering. 'Tis all I have. And Iktomi, as he spread his half-worn blanket upon Inyan's cold shoulders. Then Iktomi, happy with the smile of the sunset sky, followed a footpath leading toward a thick ravine. He had not gone many places into the shrubbery when before him lay a freshly wounded deer. This is answer from the red western sky, cried Iktomi with his hands uplifted. Slipping a long thin blade from out his belt, he cut the large chunks of choice meat. Sharpening some willow sticks, he planted them around a wood pile, and he had ready to kindle. On these stakes he meant to roast the venison. While he was rubbing briskly two long sticks to start a fire, the sun in the west fell out of the sky below the edge of island, and the twilight was over all. Iktomi felt the cold night stir upon his bare neck and shoulders. Ooh, he shivered as he wiped his knife on the grass, tucking it in a beaded case hanging from his belt. Iktomi stood erect, looking about, and shivered again. Ooh, I'm cold. I wish I had my blanket, whispered he, hovering over the pile of dry sticks and sharp stakes around it, and suddenly he paused and dropped his hands at his side. Old great-grandfather does not feel the cold as I do. He does not need my old blanket as I do. Oh, I wish I had not given it to him. I think I'll run up there and take it back, pointing his long chin toward the large grey stone. Iktomi in the warm sunshine had no need of his blanket, and it had been very easy to part with the thing which he could not miss. But the chilly night wind quite froze his ardent thank-offering. Thus, running up the hillside, his teeth chattering all the way, he drew near to Inyan, the sacred symbol, and seizing one corner of the half-worn blanket, Iktomi pulled it off with a jerk. Give my blanket back, old grandfather. You do not need it. I do. This was very wrong, yet Iktomi did it, for his wit was not wisdom. Drawing the blanket tight over his shoulders, he descended the hill with a hurrying feet. He was soon upon the edge of the ravine, and a young moon, like a bright bent bow, climbing up from the southwest horizon, a little way into the sky. In this pale light Iktomi stood motionless, as a ghost amid the thicket. His wood-pile was not yet kindled. His pointed sticks were all bare, as he had left them. But where was the deer? The venison he had felt warm in his hands a moment ago? It was all gone. Only the dry ribbed bones lay on the ground, like giant fingers from an open grave. Iktomi was troubled. At length, stooping over the white dried bones, he took a hold of one and shook it, and the bones, loose in their sockets, rattled at his touch. Iktomi let go his hold, and he sprang back amazed, and though he wore a blanket, his teeth chattered more than ever. Then his blunted sense still surprised you little reader, for instead of being grieved that he had taken back his blanket, he cried aloud, "Oh, if only I had eaten the venison before going back for my blanket." Those tears no longer moved the hand of the generous giver, for they were selfish tears, and the Great Spirit does not heed them ever.